All right, guys, the Bitcoin white paper, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, Satoshi Nakamoto. We read the introduction, the transactions, the timestamp server, proof of work, the network, and now we're on number 6, the incentive. Number 6, the incentive. By convention, the first transaction in a block is a special transaction that starts a new coin owned by the creator of the block. This adds an incentive for nodes to support the network and provides a way to initially distribute coins into circulation since there was no central authority to issue them. The steady addition of a constant of amount of new coins is analogous to gold miners expending resources to add gold to circulation. In our case, it is CPU time and electricity that is expended. The incentive can also be funded with transaction fees. If the output value of a transaction is less than its input value, the difference is a transaction fee that is added to the incentive value of the block containing the transaction. Once a predetermined number of coins have entered circulation, the incentive can transition entirely to transaction fees and be completely inflation-free. The incentive may help encourage nodes to stay honest. If a greedy attacker is able to assemble more CPU power than all the honest nodes, he would have to choose between using it to defraud people by stealing back his payments or using it to generate new coins. He ought to find it more profitable to play by the rules, such rules that favor him with more new coins than everyone else combined, than to undermine the system and the validity of his own wealth. So number 7, reclaiming disk space. Once the latest transaction in a coin is buried under enough blocks, the spent transactions before it can be discarded to save disk space. To facilitate this without breaking the block's hash, transactions are hashed in a Merkle tree, with only the root included in the block's hash. Old blocks can then be compacted by stubbing off branches of the tree. The interior hashes do not need to be stored. So block header, block hash, previous none's root. After pruning, hash 1, hash 2, hash 23, hash 1. A block header with no transactions would be about 80 bytes. If we suppose blocks are generated every 10 minutes, 80 bytes, 6, 24, 365 equals 4.2 megabytes per year. With computer systems typically selling with 2 GB of RAM as of 2008 and Moore's law predicting current growth of 1.2 GB per year, storage would not be a problem if the block headers must be kept in memory. Once the latest transaction in a coin is buried under enough blocks, the spent transactions before it can be discarded to save disk space. So number 8, simplified payment verification. It is possible to verify payments without running a full network node. A user only needs to keep a copy of the block headers of the longest proof of work chain, which he can get by querying network nodes until he's convinced he has the longest chain, and obtain the Merkle branch linking the transaction to the block it's timestamped in. He can't check the transaction for himself, but by linking it to a place in the chain, he can see that a network node has accepted it, and blocks added after it further confirm the network has accepted it. Longest proof of work chain, block header, Merkle root. As such, the verification is reliable as long as honest nodes control the network. but is more vulnerable if the network is overpowered by an attacker. While network nodes can verify transactions for themselves, a simplified method can be fooled by an attacker's fabricated transactions for as long as the attacker can continue to overpower the network. One strategy to protect against this would be to accept alerts from network nodes when they detect an invalid block, prompting the user's software to download the full block and alerted transactions to confirm the inconsistency. Businesses that receive frequent payments will probably still want to run their own nodes for more independent security and quicker verification. Number 9, combining and splitting value. Although it would be possible to handle coins individually, it would be unwieldy to make a separate transaction for every cent in a transfer. To allow value to be split and combined, transactions contain multiple inputs and outputs. Normally, there will be either a single input from a larger previous transaction or multiple inputs combining smaller amounts and at most two outputs, one for the payment and one returning the change, if any, back to the sender. It should be noted that fan out, where a transaction depends on several transactions, and those transactions depend on many more, is not a problem here. There was never the need to extract a complete standalone copy of a transaction's history. Our incentive, reclaiming disk space, simplified payment verification, combining and splitting value. All right.